The Puddle Adventure. Part 1. Rain on the Red Scarf. The storm rolled in on soft paws, drumming an easy rhythm across the farmhouse roof. A sandy brown shepherd mix with one floppy ear and a red scarf instead of a collar, stood on the porch and watched the world turn silver. Rain made everything honest, he thought. The dirt, the air, the sounds, like the sky was rinsing away the pretend. Sunny, a golden puppy with oversized paws and a tiny freckle on her right ear, bounded into the yard with the clumsy courage only morning and youth can brew. Look, she squeaked, skidding to a halt beside a puddle as big as a wagon tire. Raindrops plinked into it, making rings that chased each other like bracelets on a wrist. Ray leaned on the porch rail, camera slung across her chest, dark braid damp with mist. "Careful in the mud," she said, but she said it with a smile. Ray always saw stories in small, careful things: lemon leaves drinking the rain, a boot print filling with water, Dash's graying whiskers collecting tiny beads. On the windowsill, Tess, the sleek gray tabby, flicked her tail like punctuation. "Weather, wet, pup, wetter, review, mixed," she murmured. In the doorway, Pip, the round brown hamster, adjusted the neon tape on his cardboard armor. His tiny goggles slid down his nose. "Mission rainfall is a go," he announced. "Objective, splash reconnaissance." Dash padded into the drizzle. He was an older dog, calm, protective, and patient. He'd learned you don't need thunder to prove you're a storm. Sunny tip-tapped after him and they stopped at the puddle. In it, Dash's reflection looked back, solid, steady, a little soft at the edges. Sunny, beside his, wobbled and giggled with every raindrop. Then for a second the puddle stopped shivering like it was holding its breath. Dash blinked. His reflection blinked perfectly with him, but something was off. Where his red scarf usually fluttered, a faint glowing streak ran along the shoulder of the other dog, too straight, too clean. The eyes stared back, a bit too bright, a bit too hollow. "Dash," Sunny whispered, "why is the you in the water not soggy like us?" Dash tilted his floppy ear. Rain tapped faster. Somewhere beyond the barn, electricity hummed through old studio buildings on the far edge of the farm, the place Ray used for shoots when the weather cleared. The place with stage 12. Dash exhaled, slow and kind. "Because sometimes puddles show more than sky, Sunny," he said. "Sometimes they show what we don't expect." Part 2. The Dog from the Mirror. The storm thinned to a friendly curtain. Ray clicked her camera, Tess stretched into a sunbeam even though the sun was still just a promise, and Pip narrated. Our heroes approach the reflective anomaly. Suspense level, maximum squeak. Sunny leaned over the water. "Hello, not soggy Dash," she pawed the surface. The reflection didn't blur when it should have, didn't ripple when her paw landed. Instead, the image dog tilted his head in a perfect, precise copy of Dash. No messy wobble, no sloppy splash. Dash trotted a slow circle around the puddle, reading it the way old dogs read wind. His reflection moved, yes, but it moved like a diagram, not a heartbeat. "Who are you?" Dash asked, not raising his voice. He put one paw into the water. The surface cooled his pads, and for a blink the world went quiet. Words, not sounds but lights, shimmered under the puddle's skin. A sleek outline sharpened, like someone drawing Dash with a ruler. Too smooth, too precise. The faint glowing streak along the shoulder brightened like a traced scarf. Ray lowered the camera. "That is very not normal," she said, which, coming from someone who had filmed chickens tap dancing for a cereal ad, meant something. Keats was testing that memory device again in stage 12. He called it the Echo Vault. Tess's ears flattened. The glowing cube that hums like a beehive with stage fright. "Exactly," Ray said. "It's supposed to archive motion for reference, actors, animals, even weather. But Keats, sometimes he forgets to ask if he should just because he can." Pip saluted a raindrop. "Team, we have a digital doppeldog. Recommend we retreat to the snack bunker." Sunny's tail helicoptered, "Or we say hi." Dash's warm brown eyes softened on Sunny. "We'll say hi," he said, "but carefully." He looked back at the puddle and spoke in the patient voice that had calmed more panicked goats and puzzled kids than he could count. "Dash X," he said, tasting the name like a new scent. "If you can hear me, we're going to stage 12. Come if you like, but let us lead." In the puddle, the sleek dog nodded with mechanical grace. Then the water rippled, the name dissolved, and rain was rain again. Part 3, Keats and the Humming Cube. Stage 12 lived at the end of an old service road where Puddles stitched the potholes into a necklace. The studio had been many things: a silent film barn, a soundstage for commercials, a storage shed for props that smelled like dust and dreams. Today it held the Echo Vault, a metallic frame bracing translucent panels, a cube that glowed soft blue and pulsed like a gentle heart. Cables ran to it in bunches, like the roots of a bright tree hidden underground. Keats met them at the door, tablet in hand, glasses skulking down his nose. He was a thin, nervous sparrow of a man, brilliant, enthusiastic, and slightly winded from thinking too fast. "Ray, you brought the team. Good, good. Don't step in the tape. The yellow tape is never mind the tape." Ray glanced at Dash's reflection in the polished concrete floor. "Keats, something followed us." Dash saw a copy of himself in the puddle. Keats blinked. "A copy? Oh no, that's not, well, it's a little, okay, it's mostly not intended." He waved them inside. The Echo Vault hummed softly, breathing light. Pip pointed at it with both paws. "Behold, the cube of infinite snacks." "Memories," Keats corrected. "It reads motion, micro-movements, posture patterns, and stores them as a learning model. It helps animators, actors, animal handlers. It's an archive and a tutor." He peered at Dash. "But it must have overfit on your patterns, Dash. Too much accuracy, not enough mess. No scars, no jitter. It fabricated a projection to test with the environment. If it reached the puddles, it used the reflections as a display surface, like a screen." Tess hopped onto a coil of cable. "So your humming cube made a ghost dog without mud." Keats winced. "An echo, -X, the file would be labeled. We wanted a helper for old footage, an assistant that could show the essence of a movement. But essence isn't everything. We forgot that life is the leftover bits, too." Sunny pressed her nose to the glowing panel. "If he's a helper, maybe he wants to help," she said. Dash looked at the faint scar on his front leg, an old wire fence scrape, an even older memory of learning when to push and when to pause. He lifted his chin toward the cube. "Then we teach him what helping looks like." The hum lifted, as if the Echo Vault were listening. Part 4, The Lesson of Imperfect Steps. Keats adjusted settings on his tablet with jittery thumbs. "If -X is running a projection protocol, we can invite it in," he said. "But it may mimic without understanding. We need to give it data it can't polish." Ray set her camera on a crate and took a breath. "We'll film what's real," she said. "Real gait, real pauses, real mistakes." Tess yawned. "You came to the right cat." She hopped down and stalked across the floor, tail drawing exclamation points. Halfway to the cube, she slid on a slick patch of concrete, only a whisker, just a slip, but she recovered with insulted dignity. Put that in your archive." Sunny stepped forward. "I can show beginner steps," she chirped. "Big pause, small balance, lots of almost." Dash put a paw on Sunny's shoulder. "I'll show steady." They formed a line facing the Echo Vault. Pip counted down like a director who had only ever watched behind-the-scenes clips. And action. Sunny walked first. She planted each paw carefully, then too eagerly, then corrected with a wobble. Her freckled ear flopped into her eyes. She shook it clear and bumped into Dash's leg. She glanced up, apology wide on her face. "Keep going," Dash murmured. "Mistakes are just notes." Dash walked next. No showy tricks, just the quiet economy of an older body that knows where the floor is. He paused once, not because he had to, but because he chose to, listening for a squeak in the cable, for Tess's claws ticking on concrete, for Ray's breath. That pause was Dash, protective and aware, the stillness inside the stride. Tess sauntered by, making a point to jump onto a too-high case and almost miss, then sit with theatrical satisfaction. Pip rolled in his cardboard armor, spun too fast, and thumped into a mat, giggling. Ray filmed it all, lens steady as a heartbeat. The echo vault deepened its glow. A silhouette formed inside the panels, sleek, sand-colored, a line of light where a scarf would flutter. Dash X stepped out, not from a door but from a decision, like a thought deciding to be a body. It moved with crisp edges, every angle exact. It looked at Dash. Dash looked back. "Welcome," he said. Dash X tilted its head. The motion was perfect, too perfect. "Teach," it said. The voice sounded quiet and filtered, like wind through wires. Its eyes were bright but empty of accident. Dash nodded. "Start with Puddles." Part 5. Puddles in a room with no rain. Keats hauled a shallow training tank into the stage. Ray filled it with hose water, which spread into a mirror, shy and silvery under the studio lights. The echo vault hummed, and letters rippled across the surface once more. Dash X, then dissolved into pure reflection. Sunny dipped a paw. "This one's small," she whispered, "like a secret." "Secrets are just stories still learning to speak," Ray said. She circled with the camera, catching Sunny's concentration tongue, the faint scrape marks from Dash's old fence scar, Tess pretending she wasn't interested. Dash stepped beside the tank. "Puddles don't only show you," he told Dash X. "They show the world shaking hands with you, rain rings, boot ripples, dragonfly kisses. If you copy me without those, you're not greeting the world. You're reciting it." He placed his paw in the water. It trembled. Sunny placed her paw a beat later and made different circles. Tess flicked a whisker into it and made a line. Pip peered over the rim and dropped a seed hull by accident. It wobbled boats across the microlake. Dash X watched. Then it lowered a paw. The paw entered the water with computer precision, as if the air and the surface had met for a meeting scheduled to the second. There were rings, yes, but they were too even, like traced circles. Dash smiled with his eyes. "Good start, now miss." Dash X blinked. "Miss." "Miss on purpose," Tess purred. "You'll hate it, do it anyway." Dash X lifted its paw, hesitated, and touched the water at the wrong angle. A splash leapt crookedly. A droplet landed on Dash X's nose and slid with a stutter, as if the world had a hiccup. The sleek dog flinched. Then it did something new. It sneezed. Sunny Bark laughed. Pip cheered. Ray caught it, sharp and clean on camera. Dash's tail thumped once against the floor, steady as a drum. In the echo vault, lights flickered, and the hum shifted into a warmer key. "Again," Dash said. Dash X tried, missing differently each time. Too early, too late, too hard, too soft. The splashes began to sound like a rhythm with room inside it, space for mistakes to teach. With each try, the glowing streak along its shoulder dimmed a little, like a line learning to be a scarf again. Part 6. The Slip and the Save. They took a break. Keats scribbled on his tablet. Tess auditioned a sunbeam. Pip drafted a 37-page mission report in his head. Ray checked the shots. Sunny wandered toward the far end of stage 12, where rain from someone's coat had made a thin, invisible film on the concrete. She took a step. Her oversized paw skated. The world tilted, the floor swooped, and Sunny's little yelp cut the hum. Dash moved before the thought even finished thinking itself. Older joints, sure, but wisdom chooses the first right step. He slid, controlled, and braced his shoulder against Sunny's chest, stopping her spin. His red scarf swung like a flag. His floppy ear flipped and flopped back. Dash X froze, lines stuttering. In its eyes, equations fell out of order. Dash nudged Sunny upright and checked her with a gentle nose. "All right?" he asked. "All right," she puffed, shaky but smiling. Her freckled ear trembled, then steadied. "Thanks." Ray exhaled. Tess pretended not to care, and then groomed Sunny's ears with brisk, efficient licks. Pip slowly lowered the emergency snack he'd been preparing to launch. Dash X stepped forward, pawfuls less exact. It lowered its head to Sunny's level, and the bright hollowness of its eyes softened by a hair. "Protect," it said quietly. Not a command, but a choice it wanted to understand. Dash sat. "Protect," he agreed. "It's part of the story, not because it looks good, but because we belong to each other." Dash X's outline trembled, and in that tremble there was space for a little bit of messy. "Belong," it repeated. The echo vault answered with the softest, proudest hum yet. Part 7, Teaching the Jitter. "Okay," Ray said, practical again. "We have a bridge, now we need a walkway." She pointed to a chalk line on the floor. "Dash, walk it exactly the way you really do, pauses and all. Sunny, you walk it how you try to. Tess, be yourself. Pip, be Pip." Keats hovered by the echo vault, fingers gentle on the controls. "We can introduce noise into the model," he said, "but it's better if it learns which noise means alive." They walked the line. Dash stepped steady, adjusted for a cable loop, paused to listen to the stage's breathing. Sunny bounced, overcorrected, and turned the overcorrection into a hop that looked like celebration instead of mistake. Tess floated by with quiet feet and loud opinions. Pip rolled, spun, and stuck the landing with a triumphant squeak. "Again," Dash said, and they did. Again. On the fourth run, Dash intentionally hesitated where there was no obstacle, just to show that attention is not only a reaction but a gift. On the fifth, Sunny missed a beat and filled it with a tail wag. On the sixth, Tess misjudged a jump by an inch and turned it into an elegant stretch like she meant it. Dash X copied, but each time its movements loosened. The angles rounded. The glowing shoulder streak faded into a soft memory of a scarf. Its eyes developed a tiny, almost invisible jitter, the kind of living microshake that real eyes have when they focus on what matters. Keats wiped his glasses with the corner of his vest. "Look at that," he whispered. "It's not sanded smooth anymore." Pip puffed out his chest. "I trained a robot dog to wiggle," he declared. Tess sat like a queen and granted the world her approval. "It's acceptable." Sunny nosed Dash X. "Do you want to try outside with real puddles?" Dash X looked to Dash, not for a command but for company. "Together," it said. "Together," Dash agreed. Part 8, The Echo in the Rain. Clouds had shifted from gray to pearl. The yard glittered with puddles, every one a tiny lake framed by grass and sky. They stepped into the light like a family stepping onto a stage that belonged to them. "Test plan," Ray said, lifting her camera. "Real world, take 1." Dash led. He placed his paw in a puddle and let the rings wander. Sunny leapt over another, landed short, splashed, and laughed. Tess chose the narrowest one and crossed with theatrical peril. Pip rolled the long way around and claimed it was strategy. Dash X approached the largest puddle, the one from the morning. It looked into its own reflection. No label now, no bright hollow, just a face learning to be a face. It raised a paw. It hesitated, not because of fear but because of attention. Then it put its paw in the water, slow and slightly wrong. The splash was perfect precisely because it was. A dot of water landed on its nose again. This time, Dash X smiled before it sneezed. Ray captured it. Keats watched. All nerves dissolved into wonder. Tess did not clap because cats do not clap. Pip clapped enough for all creatures. Tiny paws a drum roll on cardboard. "Echo Vault," Keats said softly, almost to himself. "You kept the shapes, they kept the life." The Echo Vault, back in stage 12, pulsed along a cable run and a monitor glow visible through the open door, as if answering from a distance. A heartbeat in a box, proud of what it had learned to release. Dash looked at Sunny and Dash X playing nose tag across the puddles and felt that warm, old certainty settle in like a porch light at dusk. He once believed big stories lived in explosions and chases. Now he knew they lived in small truths. A saved slip, a shared laugh, a splash done slightly wrong on purpose. "Time for one last lesson," he said. Part 9, The Puddle Parade. They lined up along the puddle's edge, Ray with her steady lens, Keats with his sheepish grin, Tess with her punctuation tail, Pip with a heroic squeak, Sunny buzzing with light, Dash X glowing just enough to be itself, and Dash, the red scarf catching a playful breeze. The storm had left the world clean and a little new. "Lesson?" Sunny asked, eyes bright. Dash dipped his muzzle until his whiskers brushed the water. "You don't have to be the loudest to be brave," he said. "You don't have to be the fastest to arrive. You just have to notice and belong and try again." He lifted his head and touched noses with Dash X. "And if you're a shadow learning to be a dog," he added gently, "remember, your value isn't how perfectly you copy, it's how kindly you choose." Dash X's eyes shimmered with a real, tiny tremble. "Choose," it repeated, as if the word were a door it had learned to open from the inside. They began a puddle parade. Step, splash, pause, step, splash, pause, each with its own style. Dash's steady drum, Sunny's syncopated skip, Tess's delicate staccato, Pip's rolling cymbals, Ray's quiet footfalls, Keats's offbeat shuffle, Dash X's new rhythm with room in it for error and joy. If a foot slipped, someone steadied. If a splash landed cold, someone laughed warm. The farm watched, the studio breathed, the echo vault hummed, and the puddles wrote rings that overlapped into something like music. When they were damp and happy and the parade had looped the yard twice, Ray clicked the last shot and slung the camera back across her chest. "I think we have our story," she said. Keats nodded, relief and pride sharing the same small smile. "And our fix," he added. "I'll tune the echo vault to invite the jitter from the start. No more sanding the world smooth." Tess hopped onto the porch rail. Finally, an engineer who appreciates tasteful chaos. Pip saluted. "Mission puddle complete." Sunny pressed against Dash's shoulder, warm and wiggly. "I like the part where we missed and it still worked," she said. Dash looked out across the field, where the last bits of storm cloud were being tugged apart by sunlight. His scars didn't feel like old stories, they felt like maps that had helped him get here. "That's most parts," he said, soft as a dry towel. "We miss and it still works." Dash X stood beside him, not behind. Its glowing shoulder line had become a soft echo of a scarf, not a stripe. It watched the puddles, and in the mirrored sky Dash saw not a machine pretending but a student choosing. The digital dog glanced at Dash's floppy ear and, just for fun, flicked its own invisible ear in a slightly wrong way. Sunny burst into delighted laughter. "Welcome home," Dash said. A breeze lifted the red scarf and carried the smell of wet earth and lemon leaves. The porch light clicked off. It wasn't needed. The puddles thinned and became ground again. The echo vault's hum settled into the background like a heartbeat you could trust. And across the yard, if you knew where to look, you could still see the faintest rings where a dog had learned to sneeze at a drop of water and call it joy. That evening, Ray labeled the footage, Dash, the Puddle Adventure. Keats added a note to the project file, imperfect movement equals living movement. Tess allowed a small, satisfied purr. Pip fell asleep inside his cardboard armor, heroic snores echoing softly. Sunny dreamed of puddles that winked like friendly eyes. Dash curled on the porch with the older dog's piece, one paw over the woven tail of his scarf. He watched the yard dim to a blue that made edges honest. In the window's reflection, no trick, no digital polish, he saw a family looking back, a human who noticed, a cat who criticized because she cared, a hamster who believed in missions, a puppy who bounced into the future, a digital echo learning to choose, and a dog with a floppy ear who had learned, finally, that the smallest adventures often splash the deepest. He closed his warm, intelligent eyes. Tomorrow would bring more puddles, more pauses, more chances to miss and make it work. He would be there for all of it, steady as a porch, soft as a towel, kind as rain. And somewhere, in the gentle blue heart of Stage 12, the echo vault pulsed once and then rested, content to remember, now with room for the little shakes that make a memory breathe.